unexpected trouble with Team Israel, while Team Singapore, of course, going in that extremely close match up against Japan, only winning that tiebreaker by about 30,000 score. Obviously now up against the tournament behemoth in the United States. I think we're going to be looking for a lot of things from both these teams. Maybe a rebound from the United States and maybe some upset potential from Singapore. But I think it's going to be interesting.
I think, yeah, it is a very interesting matchup based on what happened with these two teams last week. Like you said, United States, shockingly, I think to many, dropping those 2 points to Israel, the number 32 seed. You don't expect to see 2 points, maybe one on like a Nomad 1 or something, but never two. Singapore taken all the way to tiebreaker. These teams had respectively like their impressive moments and their not so impressive moments in those matches. United States, probably the first 4 or 5 maps of the match against Israel really didn't look like themselves. They didn't look prepared. They didn't look really ready to go. Then later on, once the match got into the flow of things, they really stepped on the gas. They really got into their normal gear and just dominated the last few maps of that match. Meanwhile, Singapore was up a 4-2 advantage and kind of stumbled in the end of that matchup, allowing Japan to bring back 2 points to tiebreaker. And overall, looking at the scores from Singapore, I'm kind of surprised because they played 9 total maps and they finished with 1 or 2 overall top 3 team scores on the entire week. So it feels a little bit like Singapore was the beneficiary of an opponent that was underperforming and managed to barely take advantage of it. And so it makes it interesting, I think, coming into this one, right? Like, what do you do as these teams? What do you try to plan out as your picks with a team that you didn't have a lot of maps in common in, and neither one of which was really at their full potential?
Well, I think if you're the USA, you just do the same strategy that you've used for the last few years. You go for the highest difficulty skill sets. You go for the speedier maps. You go for the most difficult gimmick maps against this Singapore team, and you just try to step on the gas with your extremely high skill cap players and just go for killing blows on those maps. While if you're Singapore, you have to really get 4 players on every map to perform extremely well, because you can't go into this matchup against the United States expecting them to perform like they did against Israel. You have to prepare for them playing as they do on their best day, which means you need to have 4 players on every map who are ready and roaring to go and able to get extremely good scores, which I think this Singapore team is able to do. We saw some really good performances last week from players like Demonical, and we're going to be looking for some of their other players to step up as well.
Yeah, Demonical was the big carry for them in that match, and he's, I think, going to need to do that again today. He played all 9 maps, and he was the top scorer in the lobby on 5 of them. So really, really impressive performance from him. We'll see if he can manage to pull that out again. United States, of course, you get a little bit of background information on what was going on, right? They have some players who have kind of ruined their sleep habits. Meanwhile, Singapore playing at 1 a.m. for themselves, not much better in that regard. Now, you're a super experienced tournament player. Who do you think has the advantage between a team that's playing at what is a pretty early time for some players versus a team that's playing at a pretty late time for a lot of their players?
Well, I can say for sure, knowing these Singapore players, they're used to playing really late at night. These guys they're going to be fine with the 1 a.m. time. Meanwhile, this United States team, I am aware Utami played a grand finals this morning at something like 13 UTC, like 5 a.m. or something for him. So I'm not sure about how their sleep is, but I think United States, like this time it's 1 p.m. on the East Coast, not going to be as bad as last week. Only 10 p.m. for the West Coast. Shouldn't be bad. And it looks like we're going to be getting some bans coming in. It looks like the United States is going to ban out the Hidden One of the awkward aim maps of the pool, going to get banned out. Meanwhile, Singapore are going to ban Nomad 2. Odd against the United States, usually perma-banning Nomad 2 in years past, going to have it banned into them this year.
Yeah, and USA even banned Nomad 2 last week against Israel, so like clearly not their preferred skill set. Perhaps Singapore overestimating or just afraid of the USA's tapping roster this year, which is quite strong with guys like Utami Sawada on the team. But hard to say for sure. Hidden One, I think, like you said, it's awkward aim. It's got a little bit of reading aspect to it. It's also quite long. So there's definitely reasons, I think, for USA both not to want to play it in general, but also against a Singapore team that's typically pretty good at that sort of skill set. And we'll wait for the first pick from Singapore. Both teams feel like they're taking a lot of time here on their bans and picks. Not sure if there's excess strategy to be discussed in the lobby between the teams, in their Discord chats, or if they're just kind of stalling it out for some reason. But it looks like we get Fremod 1, the MC Sniper, as the first pick here from Team Singapore. So, thoughts on Fremod 1?
Yeah, this is a AIM Fremod map. We've got some Korean folk music. Pretty rare genre to see in an OWC map pool. Mapped by Lucent, so if you're familiar with his style of aim, it is kind of a good response to the Hidden 1 ban from Team United States, actually. You're picking another awkward aim map in the free mod pool this time, though, so you're going to be able to put the comfort mods on the players. Definitely going to be expecting probably a Hidden from Eagle, a Hidden from Taquito, and probably Rectigon on the Hard Rock for United States, while Singapore would probably put it on Demonical or GS Blank.
Yeah, last week, Singapore ended up playing 2 free mods. They ran Demonical GS Blank, double Hard Rock, Eagle Hidden on free mod 1, and then they ran Demonical Hidden Hard Rock, so double, and Yellow and Eagle both on Hidden on free mod 3. So possible overmods from both teams, because the United States went all 4 players with mods on free mod 2 and a Hidden Hard Rock plus a Hidden and a Hard Rock on free mod 1. I don't know that we see as much overmodding on a map like this, though, where the difficulty spikes up compared to last week's free mods.
Don Wing entering the lobby might also be putting him on Hidden. I know he is a fairly good Hidden player. And it looks like we've got... Oh, never mind. Don Wing was going to leave the lobby. Mega Mick going to come in. Meanwhile, Utami, Rectigon, Taquito, and Fancy Lad. This is a hard-hitting roster from the United States. I think the hard-hitting roster from the United States. Like when we were discussing before the tournament, like why USA should win again, it was a lot because of the 4 players that you're currently seeing on your screen. Meanwhile, Singapore, this roster though, this is, I think, one of their hard-hitting rosters as well. Mega Mick, Demonical, Eagle, and Tebi. Eagle going to be on the Hidden, and Demonical on the Hard Rock as expected. Meanwhile, United States overmodding 2 Hard Rocks, Utami going Hidden Hard Rock.
Yeah, he is a player who is, I think, at least in the early rounds of tournaments, known for being more than willing to overmod. He did it last week. We've seen him do it in USC. We've seen him doing it again here. Show of force, I suppose, from the USA, saying, you guys are going to first pick a free mod, well, we're going to overmod and see what they can do. This is the Singapore pick, though, so you've got to expect them to be strong and want to come out of the gate, you know, guns blazing if you're Singapore. Against a team like United States, you really can't let them get into the lead early on. You don't want to let them have momentum, and that's going to be Rectigon finding the first break of the match pretty early on in this pick.
Yeah, that break only in the first quarter, not going to be too consequential for Rectigon, but it is going to give the early lead in favor of Singapore nonetheless.
We'll keep an eye on how everybody does, because this is never a map that is easy to comfortable on, especially for Hidden. You see Eagle becoming the first player to break for Singapore. With Hidden, the awkward aim can be just that extra little bit of challenge. And that is USA taking the lead. Mod advantage plus combo advantage now. And there is the second
caught out by the next jump section, but there goes Taquito as well on the stack.
It's very easy, it feels, to break just about anywhere on this pick. There goes Mega Mick as well, so it is now down to just Demonical over on the side of Singapore. Meanwhile, Fancy Lad and Utami still hanging on. There goes Fancy Lad, so it's now a 1v1 with the FCs. Utami versus Demonical, which were the 2 best performing players in their matches last week. But USA with a moderately comfortable lead, especially with another break there from Eagle. Rectigon has recovered very well from the early break. Regardless of what Fancy Lad and Taquito are doing, the USA is going to keep that combo advantage as long as Utami and Rectigon can manage to hold on to these combos into the last quarter of the map.
Hard Rock players really performing well on this one. Utami, Rectigon, and Demonical looking the most comfortable in the lobby on this.
It feels like... Oh, Utami, did he misread a stack there? That was awkward. that kind of opens the door. Rectagon is still holding enough combo that I believe this lead should stay intact because Demonical only has about 130k maybe of score left to go. And the lead is 200,000. I believe this is safe for the United States thanks to the Rectagon backing score. But that let it get a little closer than it would have otherwise.
Ultimately, though, it will be a early break point for Team United States. Going to get on the board 1-0 against Singapore, going into their own first pick.
That's an impressive score from Demonical, though, despite the defeat for Singapore. They first pick the Fremod 1, and he gets the FC as the only full combo in the lobby. In fact, the only player at or above 900k. But unfortunately, Singapore just did not have the backing scores. Nobody else over 600k besides the FC on Demonical. Meanwhile, you had Utami, Rectagon at the 863, 878, and Fancy Lad Taquito just a little higher. Now, USA first pick. There's options on the board here. I think that something like a raw speed mechanics pick might be in the offing for the US, but no, it's going to be completely different. They're going to go hard rock aim. All right, what do I know? Go cheat reel.
Yeah, this is the last thing a traditional United States team would pick into anyone, the Hard Rock aim map, but I'm going to say I completely love it. I don't know if I love the map or this pick more, but I think the United States, they looked really good on their Hard Rock players on that. And even though Demonical did FC the other map with Hard Rock, I think the United States is going to be able to put in a very strong 4-man roster for this.
Yeah, I believe... I mean, the USA played Hard Rock 1 last week and won it. Completely different Hard Rock 1 last week. Much less aim-focused. A lot more of the flow in that one. But it feels like their Hard Rock roster is pretty strong. Also, of note, they do get Decaton back today, who was not here last week for their first round match, and who is going to be kind of a cornerstone for some of the aim picks in the pool. And so this is going to be an opportunity for him to come in for his first map in World Cup bracket stage play. And maybe we can see what he's made of, as well as Bashiman, two of the new members of the team coming in to join Utami and Rectagon, who are, of course, going to be in for basically every pick.
Yeah, Bashi surprisingly going to be in for a lot of different maps on this USA roster. Initially being put on the team for more of his reading and gimmick skill sets. Going to end up, maybe, funnily enough, filling into more of what Fiery's role was in playing some of the Hard Rock maps as well. And Decaton, obviously, such a stellar aim player. No surprise to see him in on this map. But Singapore, their aim roster is pretty good too. Demonical, obviously, I've seen the last map. GS Blank just being a beast. And with Seal and Tebby both fairly strong in their own right, going to be seeing probably a fight on this pick from Singapore.
Yeah, Singapore's Hard Rock roster is not something to scoff at. Demonical, Seal, GS Blank, Tebby. I mean, they're all very solid Hard Rock players. Pretty good aim in general, and the aim requirement of this, with it only being round of 16, is there, but it's not through the roof or anything. I do think this roster for the USA might be the best aim in general, and also Hard Rock aim roster that they've fielded in quite some time with the return of Rectagon and the new additions to the team.
Yeah, typically later into the tournament, this is the skill set that other teams would try to abuse into the United States. Teams like Canada and Germany, obviously loving the HR aim, but if the United States likes it this year, it's going to be scary for everyone else. Utami smoking what?
Broke on kind of not much of anything. Not really sure what happened there. Still a triple FC for the USA, but those breaks from Seal and Tebby were really quite early. So Singapore should be able to take this lead. The USA still has a little combo advantage, I think, but it's very, very close.
Yeah, we have yet to get into the real meat of this map, so I don't think any advantage is really going to be eked out by anyone, no matter what happens, until we get through the important TI times of this map, where it gets extremely intense.
This is such a lengthy and so consistency-heavy pick for 4 minutes and change, and it kind of doesn't let up on you. You get a lot of difficult sections and those KIs, as you mentioned, and even before the KIs, in this build-up here, catches out 3 members of Singapore. GS Blank, Seal, and Tebby all breaking, and then breaking again are GS Blank and Tebby on that Buzz Slider, and I know we're only a third of the way through, but they may have just lost this map right there.
I know I just said that people aren't really gonna break until the Ki times, and I just ate all of it. Yeah,
you
USA,
would like to apologize.
I would like to apologize to Team Singapore, and there goes Demonical as well. United States now looking to dominate on the rest of this pick. Utami breaking again though, but still 3 FCs from Bashiman, Rekigon, and Decayton. There is nothing you can do if you're Singapore on this, but pray.
Yeah, this is that USA classic where even if their perceived best player misses, there's other people just casually FCing. And it's all three of the remaining members in this case, because they just have really good aim mechanics, so you can find players to pick up the slack if somebody like an Utami or a Fancy Lad maybe has a rough map or rough match. And we're at the point where there's just not much Singapore can do. Even if the United States full misses, it's still a 600,000 point lead with a quarter of the map to go. They would need a full combo reset and then to basically just walk away from their keyboards.
Yeah, this point differential is kind of insane for a round of 16, by the way.
You don't often see 1,000,000 points in a winner's bracket round of 16 on a Hard Rock 1 especially. Typically, these kind of aim consistency maps are usually a bit closer just because most teams have people that can play them fine. You don't often see Bashi, that is the Predge. You don't often see 1,000,000+ point deficits coming in this early on, but this is the strength of USA, and evidently a skill set that perhaps Singapore is not the most comfortable with, despite appearances previously to the contrary. Those Buzz Sliders and sliders in general really caught out Singapore a lot on this one. I think they got the bad RNG run with the Buzz Sliders and could have put up a much better score than they actually ended up doing.
Yeah, this is the type of map where I feel like all of these players on Singapore probably could have put up a really good score on in like their single player practice runs. I bet their sheet is full of pretty good scores on this. But just got a little bit unlucky, missed a few places you don't think you should have, and now your team average is about high 400k, and that's what happens when you miss in the first third of maps.
Yeah, you just can't afford, unfortunately, to do what they've done on this map. USA gonna end up with only 1 FC. That could have been a ludicrous team score, but Bashiman and Decayton both broke, sort of towards the end, so they ended up with 881, 817k. Rectagon, of course, bringing home the full combo because he is a really good Hard Rock aim player. Utami, bottom scoring by a considerable margin, and the USA still won by that much. That's gotta feel good for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially on their newer players, Decayton and Bashiman, both getting 800k. By the way, I think that's the first time I've seen Bashiman miss this tournament. That guy has been extremely consistent in qualifiers and round of 32. I mean, I'm sure he's missed before this. He's played a considerable amount of maps, but this guy is playing out of his mind.
That's really impressive to see new players coming into OWC and putting up good showings, especially ones who, are not as well known amongst tournament scene. Obviously, Bashi known for, kind of his solo skills and stuff like that, but has not had the results, neither has Decayton for that matter, in these big tournaments compared to, the rest of the USA roster. So seeing them come in and put up good scores and being real contributing members of the team bodes well for the United States going forward, and does not bode super well for Singapore, unfortunately, when the lesser known quote-unquote worst players on the other team are still putting up scores better than anyone on your squad. If you're Singapore, you're going to be a little bit worried, and I don't know that DT3 is the answer.
Yeah, picking speed into this United States roster is kind of I don't know how I feel about it either, but Singapore, they know things that we don't. They probably have some good scores on their team sheet on this and are thinking, you know what? This is a map we can maybe win against them, because, as I said earlier, against the United States in this early round, if you're a team like Singapore, it's not about the skill sets, I think, it's about the scores. So, they've got the scores on this, I fully believe in them, but the United States is going to put out an absolutely absurd roster on this. Rekigon, Sawada in the lobby. Gonna see Utami join soon as well, probably. For their fourth, could be a few different players. Maybe Decayton, maybe Fancy Lad. Not entirely sure.
Maybe Monko.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Could it be a Monko angle?
Could be the 2000s Monko in the...
What happened to the other 1999 Monkos? Where are they? This must be investigated.
They're
also,
in a Fallout shelter somewhere. Okay.
Also, where are the other 5,323 Eagles.
True.
The people must know. And it is going to be Monko, as it turns out, as the fourth. So Rectigon, Sawada, Utami, Monko, Demonical, Megamic, Just Blank, and Yellow for Singapore. They only played DT1 last week, and they put up one of the best scores of the week on it. They put up the number 2 score. That was the only DT they played. That was the only real tapping mechanics map that they played last week, so not a lot of information on how strong Singapore might be. They obviously banned out Nomad 2 this week, but this one is a lot different. This is 260 BPM, plenty of bursts requirement in this map. So we'll see how it goes for the teams. So Singapore still looking to get on the board here with their second pick.
USA going to be bringing in Sawada, the speedy koala, for the first time this match. Going to be expecting a lot from him on this pick as a player from my home state.
Sawada is such a cool story, who, didn't even make it on the USA 3-digit World Cup team this year, and now he's on OWC as like their designated speed player, and he's really, I think, so far showing up, both in qualifiers and their first match. First break is going to be coming from Yellow on the side of Singapore, so USA starting off with an early lead. As I said before, you don't want to give this USA team a lead because they are one of the all-time frontrunners. They are amazing with momentum on their side. Historically have been dominant when they can get ahead in matches, and that's going to be looking like what might happen here again as Megamic and Yellow both struggle in the early goings in this pick.
Yeah, that break from Megamic, just a random slider break. That's the worst type of break. Yellow struggling a lot more evidently with the accuracy. But Demonical and GAS Blank are still going strong. But this United States roster, I don't know if they're going to give them anything to come back in this map with. The lead already up at about 300,000 and climbing. And GS Blank finding the break. It's looking just about over. Monko finding the drop, but they need a lot more than that.
Yes, Singapore needs a lot of help here. They need Demonical to SS the rest of the map, and they need USA to break multiple times. And so far, it's just not looking like that's very likely to happen. That being said, Megamic and Yellow are recovering good, were recovering quite well until that break from Yellow. It looked like they maybe would have been able to make a run at putting together some combo in the back half of this pick, but that is going to be quickly stamped out. And yeah, USA again. There's a break from Sawada, but USA again just going to look very strong on their opponent's picks here.
Yeah, Sawada blundering a little bit on that slower part there. It's okay, I'm still proud of you. Still 2 FCs though on Rectigon and Utami, matched up against the 1 FC from Demonical. Demonical is putting up the performance that you want to see from him in this matchup, but unfortunately the team performance from the USA is here this week. Look at this score lead, over 1 million score on this one, or just about 1 million.
That's going to end up being a USA breakpoint, 968,000 points, the margin of victory for them. Rectigon Utami double FCing with some quite good accuracy, if I do say so myself. 99.3 on Rectigon, 99.5 on Utami. Any fears about whether or not Utami would be playing well after his early morning, maybe getting a bit of swashed here? He's looking fine, despite that Hard Rock performance. Rectigon Utami at the top of the lobby alongside Demonical through the first few points.
Spongel! We got Spongel, chat. Let's go.
Spongel.
Levitation Nation. This might be one of the spiciest maps in the map pool. When you combine ult and high circle size precision, you get the formula that everyone loved from qualifiers.
It's such a cool map and song. I don't know, Spongel takes me way back because I listened to one of their albums years and years ago, and it was like the most wild experience. So to see a song of theirs mapped in OWC is crazy. But this is 6.11 circle size, so it's going to call into question your ability to play precision, which is going to bring Bashi Man back into the lobby for the United States, kind of opting into a more niche Hard Rock compared to the Hard Rock 1, which is a lot more straightforward. Singapore historically has been pretty good at some of the more awkward maps. Demonical, Seal, Eagle, Tebby, going to see what they can do, but I definitely think this is a pick that works well for the United States' roster for this year.
Yeah, definitely. Fancy Lad on this type of map is typically just super strong, and then Bashi Man looking strong on the HR as well, and then Utami Rectigon no questions about this United States roster.
But this is the type of map that, you know, things can just sort of happen on Precision. It's difficult to be comfortable, I guess, is kind of the thought process. So we have to play it out and see what happens, regardless of how favored the USA may be. Shoutouts to Eagle and Utami holding SS through 200 plus combo. That's much easier said than done. No breaks yet.
Low BPM HR, pretty hard to act usually. But it looks like these players are not having much issue at the beginning of this map.
Everybody's holding the accuracy somewhat lower on Demonical down at 91%. It's going to help the USA take a little bit of an early lead. It's really just the AC. That's all that separates the team. 91 on Demonical, 95 on Seal versus the USA at 97.6 or higher on all 4 members. But it's going to end up being all about the combo, as is typically the case. So we're just going to wait and see. Somebody eventually will miss, but who?
Yeah, there's just no way this map is getting 8-wayed, so I think Singapore is going to be really fine with the setup right now. Because one break can come in from the US, and then the pick will be overwhelmingly in their favor. But there goes Tebby. That is not what they wanted to see. United States now with another overwhelming advantage, and it looks like they are going to start extending this lead quickly again. But Utami finds the break, though.
Fortunately for USA, Seal and Eagle both breaking. That's going to take the edge off of that Utami break, as they still have a triple FC, and now it's just Demonical. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Demonical holding the last hope on a map for Singapore. He is kind of the bright light for them when few others manage to hold on. But there he goes. It matches Fancy Lad, Babachi Man, and Rectagon. Precision legends, Hard Rock legends for the United States. Extend out the lead a bit more. Make that just Rectagon, but it's fine for the USA. Not so fine for Singapore.
Yeah, they're going to be fine. They still got an FC, and the lead already at around 500,000. United States are looking to clock in their 4th point in this matchup.
Yeah, this is the USA that you would expect just dominating their opposition and really never giving them a chance to get into much of anything so far through almost 4 points now. It's been a runaway train. The United States are going to take another point here by a pretty hefty margin. Only question left to answer is whether Rectagon will complete this FC, and it sure looks like he's going to.
Yeah, not much map left. Rectagon gonna get the FC on this Hard Rock too. Very impressive from him, and the score lead will eventually turn out to be almost 900,000. That is insane. United States, I think this is a little bit of a regression to the mean for Team United States, except in the other direction when you usually use that term. They are back, I think.
Yeah, you know, the USA heard people talking some shit, and they said, no. None of this.
No.
We're the United States, and we're going to make sure y'all remember. They're putting their stamp on this match. 4-0 so far. Next pick is Singapore's. They do have a chance still to get on the board, but it's looking ever more difficult as the USA is just looking dominant so far. What do you even pick here?
I mean, there's a bunch of maps in this pool. I feel like you could go for this Fremod 3 here. It was described as one of the easier maps in the pool. I feel like it would definitely be a map that Singapore can get a roster of 4 on, and they are going to go for the Fremont 3. Watch out. LMT's expert on this last set of a Den Kare song.
We had Dada and Chillier talking about this as it was played in the previous match as kind of a mind game map, right? It's pretty easy and mostly straightforward. So, do you overmod and risk it for the higher mod multiplier score advantage? Or do you just say, we're going to go bare minimum mods, we're going to get 2 no mod FCs or something close to it, like guaranteed. It's, you know, you kind of have to almost force the other team's hand, like, what do you guys want to do with the mods? What are we going to do with the mods? And it's a little more of a mind game because it's such a relatively easy map in this pool.
I think United States aren't really going to worry much about what Singapore does with the mods. Even though this is probably the easiest map in the pool that you are going to be expecting FCs on from both sides, I think they might just roll with the same mods they did last time, which are relatively safe. You take 1 HD, 1 HR, and then you let Utami do whatever the heck he wants.
And that being said, Utami not having the greatest match of his life, did top score the DT, but then bottom scored that Hard Rock 2 after bottom scoring the Hard Rock 1 as well. I suppose if you're the United States, you're fine with that because, like I said before, you know, if your best player is bottom scoring and you're still winning maps by nearly 900k, like you'll take that all day. And the mods go as expected. Overmods for both teams. Rectagon Hard Rock, Utami hidden, Hard Rock, Bashiman hidden. Interesting. No Taquito. Fancy Lad on Nomad. Very comfortable on the higher density Nomads. On the other side, Demonical hidden Hard Rock to match Utami. Eagle hidden to match Bashiman. Yellow on a hidden. They did do this last week. They ran double hidden on one on the, I think it was 3-3 as well. And this one starting off balanced as Demonical and Bashiman both break early on.
Surprising act drops from Bashiman in the beginning, but I assume he will stabilize soon enough.
I'm kind of interested in Bashiman being in for this on hidden over like Taquito being in on this for hidden. Usually Taquito is the designated hidden player for this team, but as we recall, Bashiman was brought into this team to, you know, kind of fill some gaps, and one of those can be high density hidden. So we'll see how it ends up going as the map progresses. So far, it's going to be a little bit of a USA lead, 3 FCs to 2, and a couple breaks from Demonical and Yellow in the early stages.
Yeah, Demonical dropping on the very specific single 1/6 burst in each chorus. There's going to be one of those in every chorus. I'm sure he's going to be pinching himself for breaking on that one. But yeah, at this point in the map, looks like there are still 2 FCs on the board for Singapore, while Fancy Lad, Rectagon, and Utami are still going strong for the United States, with Bashiman re-establishing his early dropped combo.
This map feels very nerve heavy, and I don't say that solely because of what happened to Minecrafter in the match for Thailand against Mexico, shaking like a real leaf on a tree, but also just because there's so many slightly less than comfortable patterns, and with the low BPM and low approach rate at, you know, relatively dense AR9, it's hard to just be super comfortable. You always have to be focused. Worked out so far for mostly everyone, but there goes Yellow again. Eagle and Tebby are still holding the double FC for Singapore, so they are remaining in contact, but that 200k lead is going to grow a bit as Demonical falls off of a stream and finds a couple more misses for himself.
Yeah, Demonical is not the person you want to break if you're Team Singapore. That guy has been your top performer throughout the whole match. But right now, Eagle and Tebby are technically keeping this in touch if the United States were to break down, but on a pick like this and with these combos, I don't really know if you can expect that, but there goes Bashiman. That's a start.
It's a start, but will there be a finish? Will there be a finish in sight? No, there won't, because Bashi did not break. Combo makes it back. Thank you, Bancho. One of those moments that we see very frequently. And still a 3-way for the United States as well. Rectagon, Fancy Lad, Utami. No longer Rectagon. Huh. Didn't expect him to miss on this on Hard Rock only. Unless that was a Bancho break as well. We'll find out. Looks like it was a real miss. But it's still 2 FCs against 2. With Fancy Utami, Eagle, Tebby. Bashiman, though, making the difference. 1400 combo, 600k lead for United States. Not going to be going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, and it looks like, as we mentioned, the United States is back.
People keep asking me if I'm back. Well, I've had some time to think about it, and yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. The United States came to play. They're not messing around in this match one bit. Never let their foot off the gas pedal, and that is a quick 5-0 sweep. USA putting up another great score, 3.6 million with a double FC on Utami and on I'm a Fancy Lad, with Bashiman and Rectagon putting up very solid supporting scores. Singapore double FC on Tebby and on Eagle, but unfortunately their backing scores were just not where they needed to be, and their last chance to get a point falls by the wayside. United States looking a little bit more like themselves after what was a very rough week last week for them, by their standards.
Yeah, everyone's going to be a lot happier about this performance from Team United States. But for Team Singapore, though, I don't think there's any rough feelings to be had about this result, even though you did just get clean swept. The United States played out of their mind. Singapore, they put up a good fight on a few of those picks, coming within a few 100,000 scores.